Hi, everyone. Welcome to What's Your Process? My name is Dimitri Shamus. Today I'm joined by Lashay Lewis, the founder of Authority Plug. How's it going, Lashay?
Going good, Dimitri. Things brewing, got stuff cooking, How about you? How's it going?
I can't complain. It's a beautiful sunny day out here, and I'm looking out the window and pretending it's not super cold, but life is good.
Oh no, see, it ain't even sunny here. It's cold, it's rainy, just real dreary vibes today. But what offsets that is getting to talk to you because I'm very, very excited. So
you are too kind. I feel the exact same way. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. For folks that don't know, I met Lashay at Drive at Exit 5's event last year in 2024, and Lashay just gave the most amazing talk ever, and I fanboyed straight to her afterwards to be like, that was unbelievable.
No, thank you so much. And honestly, to everybody that was at Drive that's listening, thank you. You guys changed my life. That might sound a little melodramatic, but seriously, definitely changed my life. That was a huge personal jump for me, and to be supported by everybody that was there, just shown so much love. You guys it was the best feeling in the world. Just makes me want to go that much harder and pay it forward for everybody. So thank you so much.
That's a beautiful thing, because I think you're going to be doing some paying it forward today and in your process,
Yes, 100%.
So first question of the day is, what do people need to know about you?
This might be a weird way to start it off, but people should know that I'm very ambitious. I do not give up easily. For a little bit of context, I've been at this entrepreneurial thing since I was maybe 15, with success just happening at 29. If that doesn't show relentlessness, I don't know what does. Second, I'm a wife and a mother. And to be honest, I know that's really a lot of what fuels me, to be able to go through the motions, the up and downs and the whirlwinds and all the other stuff we have to deal with as consultants and things like that. But it's the family that keeps me headstrong, that keeps me going forward. And that I think a last good thing to leave off with is I'm a good person. I think I'm a good person, right? So
No question.
Anything I can do to help somebody, I'll make sure I do that, because when I was coming up, I needed those same things. So I want to be to people what I needed somebody to be to me.
I think ambition, your why, and just giving back, those are just so important. Honestly, I feel when we first met, I felt like we were because I'm kind of the exact same, in terms of just I don't know when to quit. My family drive me through anything and everything. I'd probably just be sitting on the couch playing PlayStation if I could, but they keep me going.
See, I'm more of an Xbox type of girl now. I mean, PlayStation has those bomb single players. Mm-hmm. I'm more of an Xbox Live type of girl. I gotta have some action in there somewhere. But I totally get it. I used to be the same way. It's funny because as I started growing in the entrepreneurial journey, it was the things that, not that gaming isn't fun, gaming is always going to be my thing, but it was almost I started gamifying my life a little bit. This whole entrepreneurial journey, it's okay, I've hit this milestone. Can I hit this one? Let's see. It's almost when you're playing a game, you're unlocking a new level. It's okay, yeah, let me see if I can get to this level, and then that one, and then upping the difficulty a little bit on each of the levels. You know what I mean? Just gamifying the process, having some fun with it.
Just level up every time. Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to sit on the same level. And I realized for me, I'm done getting worked by 12-year-olds online, but to be able to sit there with my single player games and just be you know what, I can do this better, or I can get to that next level. And it's fun because now my 7-year-old, he's starting to get into some of these single player games, and not the big kind of narrative driven ones, but the platformers or whatever. And he's just, I can't get to this platform. I can't jump here. I can't do that. And it's just yes, you can. You got this. And he'll fall off the cliff 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, but then he makes the jump, and it's see, I told you. And that's where it's I think a lot about a lot of things, frankly, in relation to gaming. So hearing you talk about this concept of leveling up really speaks to me. Because you don't want to stay on the first level forever. You got to get to that final boss somehow.
Yeah. And sometimes So even with gaming, like sometimes when you can't beat a specific level, so a lot of times what would help me is like taking a break, right? Like, and I relate this to entrepreneurship in a way of where it's like, so I am a child of the hustle culture. I was very deep into that where it was like, okay, I'm not taking no breaks until I do this thing, until I get it right and all this other stuff. And it was like, that's literally the exact opposite of what you want to do. Sometimes when you're playing the game and you find like, oh, I can't beat this boss or I can't get past this level, when you go and take a break and come back, you beat it, right? So it's almost like the same thing entrepreneur wise. It's like if you're having a business difficulty or something like that, take a walk, get away from the computer, get away from the problem. And that's when the ideas start to flow. That's when everything starts to come together. You come back and you nail it, run through it. Yeah.
You know, it's funny when I reach out about the show, I always generally will say to someone like, oh, you know, an idea I think for you could be X, but I'm open to other suggestions because I know you're good at a lot of things. And like immediately it's like, are we technically here to talk about entrepreneurship? No, but now I all like immediately it's like, let's have another one of these for entrepreneurship because I think there's a lot of lessons learned. I mean, I've heard you talk about it, so I know there's lots of lessons learned, but it's funny to hear you relate it this way because it clicks, and I don't think enough people think about it in that regard.
I think it comes from personal experiences, right? So it's like, and it's funny because we all have different experiences. So it's like people will relate to the same thing in a different way. So somebody will relate to the same thing, meaning entrepreneurship, but in a different way. I don't hear people talk about it in relation to gaming, but I'm a gamer. So it's like, that's what clicks and makes sense for me. You're the first host that has ever brought that out of me because I don't go on marketing podcasts like, oh yeah, I love to game. But like, no, totally. Hopefully this resonates for somebody, all my gamers out there. But like, no, for sure. I think a lot of what we do outside of the actual business aspect can be related back to the business aspect. So, right, even if we want to take something like the gym, when I started doing that, I'm like, wait a minute, okay, it takes patience, it takes consistency, it takes being in pain, it takes doing the same workouts over and over and over. You won't see results this week, but you might see them 4-6 weeks down the line, right? And it's like the same thing with entrepreneurship, like that work ethic and that patience and that consistency bleeds over into other aspects of your life. At least that's what I found. And fitness was that thing that helped me be like, you know what? Slow down. Because a lot of the things we get right now are instant. You think about apps, you think about all types of stuff that Amazon, whatever, you know what I mean? Everything is just like instantaneous, but it's like, this is one of those things that you will do that is not instantaneous whatsoever. It's going to like take time. But even with that, and again, it's like I relate it to fitness because fitness takes time. But just because you don't see the transformation in the mirror just yet doesn't mean that it's not happening from the inside out.
Well said. You got to put in the work to see the results. And I can speak from firsthand experience building my thing out. Like, I wish it was just like flipping a light switch or whatever. I wish it was instantaneous, but no, you gotta put in the effort.
I mean, well, that's why I say like 14 years to become an overnight success, right? So a lot of people first know me from like Exit 5 and everything, but it was like I was working like 14 years before that. You know what I mean? Like it took up until that point of breakthrough to where people are like, well, you know, who's that? But there's so much more to the story than that. But everything that I was doing was compounding and building up for that moment. And it's funny because the struggles that I went through before all played a role in how I run my consultancy today. So don't let the struggle get you down. Like if you are in it, 9 times out of 10, like the things that you're struggling with or you're trying to work through or learn how to do, they're going to come back in the form of you having to do them through your business and you're going to be prepared for it.
Speaking of your business, because I know that not only are you good at starting businesses, but you're actually really good at what you do. So what is one thing you're world class at?
Creating high conversion driven content, bottom of funnel. Yes, that's what I'm world class at.
That's just a great way to put it, right? Because a lot of people just say like bottom of the funnel or BOFU.
Right. I wanted to add a little bit more context to it. Yeah.
It sounds good too. But how do you get started there then?
So the best way to get started with creating bottom of funnel content is, first of all, make sure your internal team is aligned. When I say your internal teams, I'm specifically talking about sales, customer success, product, and marketing. Once you have those teams aligned, and when I say aligned, what I mean even more specifically is each one of those teams agrees on what the product is, what it does, and who it's for. Once you have that alignment, then you can begin creating the bottom of funnel content, right? So from there, once you understand your customers at a deep enough level, that's when you can start doing the keyword research type of stuff, because you're doing the keyword research based off of the features that the product has, or the pain points that the customers are dealing with, or the category that your SaaS sits in, right? But all of these things you'd have to find out through doing further internal research. And again, not to shit on agencies, which I usually do during these things, but a lot of agencies don't take that deep dive into their clients' businesses before they say, okay, well, let's go create a content strategy for you. Let's go do some keyword research. Like, writing is literally the last step. Like, keyword research is one of the last steps. Because if you don't know who you're talking to, you're not going to know what resonates with them. Therefore, the content will not convert. But there's this misconception with a lot of SEO-driven professionals that I got to rank. Right. You do need to rank. But in order to rank, you have to speak to your persona's pain points. You have to understand how those pain points match up to capabilities of the product. You need to understand how the product works. What's the benefit of having the pain point solved? You know what I mean? Like, these intricate details that a lot of people don't take into account because they're so hyper fixated on growth and, whatever acronym you want to put in here, MQLs and SQLs and all this other stuff. It's like, they don't take the time to dig into their customers' pains, which is really what's going to trigger them to try the thing out, whether it be a demo or reaching out to somebody from sales, whatever that go-to-market motion is. The thing that's going to get the person to try that is you speaking to their problems. And the only way you're going to be able to speak to their problems is if you do that necessary research. It's like pulling teeth, but it's so necessary.
So why is it important then to get everyone aligned around those pain points?
Because somebody in marketing probably looks at the product different than somebody in sales. But to me, the sales team are the people that are talking to the prospects every day. They would probably know more than anybody else what the prospects are struggling with, what competitors are they switching from, like all of this important intel. And I found so many times, Dimitri, it's like when we get on calls and you'd be surprised how people are like, oh, I didn't know that. Or I'm like, okay, give me your internal collateral. You're like, well, I think this person on this team has it and this person on this team has it. And it's like, nobody has everything all together and the information is just scattered. And if I ask one person, how would you describe X product? I'll get a different answer from the product marketer than I will the content marketer. You know what I mean? Because the team isn't aligned. And it's like, if the content is misaligned, all of the collateral that comes from this is going to be misaligned. So now imagine companies that are using AI to try to scale content efforts, but they're misaligned. You're scaling misalignment.
And you're confusing your customer.
Yes. Like, it's so important to get this right because you could be running 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction if you don't.
I love this point and I love this thinking. And I love how like all the best processes generally start with this move where it's like, we need to know why we're doing this and we need to know not what we're doing. Cause I think you're right? Like that's going to come later. It's like, we need to know how we're going to do it and what are we even talking about? Because there's so many of these businesses that are like, yeah, you know what, we're going to get up and running and we're going to do all of these things. And Autonomy is like the thing that I laugh about all the time, because I think it's like a beautiful thing, but you've got to have autonomy with guardrails. Like, like here are your barriers, like your whatever you want to do within here, go for it. It's when those guardrails don't exist that like you get that exact situation that you're talking about, where like people are like all over the place doing whatever they want to do, and then you look at it and you're like, what is this? Like, who are we? Who are we for? What do we do? What problems do we solve? You've got to contain it.
I think you're really spot on when it comes to autonomy with guardrails, because funny enough, Dimitri, I think some companies will probably have like the too autonomous problem. But from what I find is like companies do talk to each other. The problem is cross-functional communication. That's where the problem is, right? So it's like sales only talks to sales. Yes. And marketing only talks to marketing. It's like we're talking all day long, but are we talking to the right people? You know what I mean? Like, do we have a Slack channel where it's one person from sales and one person from marketing and one person from CS and one person from product? And are we talking through things? Like, so for example, even with the type of content that I do, the bottom of funnel content, it's like people don't understand that this type of content can be sales enablement, right? So if I'm doing like you versus competitor, you have a prospect that comes in and says, okay, so what's the difference between you and this person? I've been kind of like thinking about that. You have a full-blown article that gets into the capabilities of the product, the features, the pain points they're dealing with, that you can hand to the sales team and say, okay, boom, here goes this piece of content, use it as you will. And this can help push things further through the pipeline and close deals. And so SEO stands for search enablement optimization. I call it sales enablement optimization.
Ooh.
And the reason for that is, again, it's like the purpose of the content is not just to sit on the blog. It's for you to be able to repurpose that content, and not just repurpose in a form of, okay, take this blog content and turn it into a webinar, which you could totally do. But it's meant to be repurposed in a way of, okay, it's not just going to sit on the blog and collect SEO value. It's going to be used for the sales team to help push pipeline further. You know what I mean? So like people would get so much more out of their SEO efforts if they just thought about it in a lens of, this is going to be a sales enablement piece versus this is some random piece I'm putting on the blog. Hopefully somebody finds it one day.
I love that. I was literally talking to someone this morning about that, how, I was talking about my newsletter specifically, where it's just like, that's become more of just like you're saying, a sales enablement piece than anything else, where it's like, hey, you know what, you reached out about whatever problem you're having. Yeah, sure. Here's some work samples. Here's some thoughts about how we could solve it. But like, here's a write-up of how I approach this process, or here's how, I've solved this process or this problem in other ways. And like, it's been weird because the newsletter is not that old at this point, but like, I feel like I've gained more traction from sending some of those links than when it was just like, hey, just trust me. I created some random web page and all of a sudden it's like legit. You know what I mean? But there is a legitimacy that is built, I think, as a result of that, when you create content that you stand behind and then that you're willing to share as well. And so like, I think your point there is so important, right? Because you're not just creating it for the sake of creating it, as you're saying it, you're trying to use it as a resource. And when I think about, I'm not ready to jump ahead unless you're ready to jump ahead, but like in that process of getting to the like content creation aspect, like as we think about alignment, like, are you running workshops? Are you putting meetings on the books? Is it just the Slack channel? Like, how are you ultimately creating that alignment?
For me, so specifically how my engagements work are, when I first start working with a company, what I'll do is say, give me every bit of internal collateral you have, right? Give me battle cards, give me positioning documents, give me ICP information, like give me everything. And what I'll do is I'll go through this information. And then what I do from there is I extract the specific elements that I need to be able to create a bottom of funnel strategy, right? So like the pain points and the capabilities and all this stuff, who they're talking to, right? So if the SaaS is horizontal, we're probably talking to multiple ICPs. Those multiple ICPs could have different personas, like all types of stuff, right? So I get very granular with it. And then from there, that's when we'll have the initial kickoff call, right? Because so many people do like, oh, okay, so when I sign you on, we're going to have a kickoff call. And it's really just for shits and giggles. It's like, what are we actually doing on this call? Like, are we taking necessary steps to move forward? Like, every time I get on a call with a client, I need for there to be something happening. We need to be trying to get alignment on something. We need to be going over something. So I'm not the type to, because I love autonomy. It's like my favorite thing ever. So I'm not the type to want to get on calls just to pretend I'm doing something. And again, this dives into more of the consultancy world, but it's like when you let clients under the hood, metaphorically, right? And let them see how the engine works, they won't, I don't want to say bother, but they won't be as concerned about the process because they're literally watching you execute on the process, right? And for me, I built my consultancy in a no code. I'm not some sort of innovator, pioneer. That was totally by accident. So one of the problems that I had when I worked at agencies was sourcing this information, right? I would have to go to YouTube and look through their blog and do all this other stuff. When I'm like, what if I just had all of the information in one place for me? That's when the dashboard was born. And I'm like, it's difficult to get a hold of internal subject matter experts. Like, this is a problem across everybody that I've talked to. The people with the knowledge in the company are just always so busy. They don't have time to sit down and talk to you to be able to get a blog post out. So I'm like, okay, instead of trying to get them on the phone, like, why don't we just get them on a call, get them to jot down everything that I possibly can and have this repository, if you will, of information that I could use for my articles. Then as time went on, I started like tightening that further in an attempt to productize the process, right? So productize meaning it's almost like an assembly line when somebody comes through, right? They go through the same thing over and over and over. So it's like for me, if I'm going to put my clients on calls, we're going to be doing something. That first call does not happen until all of their internal information is like in this dashboard and it's organized in a way that makes sense. And then we get on a kickoff call to come to a consensus like, okay, this information is aligned. Any questions they have, we get it out the way there. But no, like that first kickoff call isn't even until the dashboard is filled in.
It means you're not sitting there wasting your time. You're actively waiting for something to happen and then jumping in. And I love the alternate, like there's a secondary lens of alignment here where like not only is it getting everyone on the same page, but it's also creating a repository for yourself, you're also creating a repository for them, right?
Yes.
So now they all have that single pool of resources to go back to and just be like, oh, I need an article on this, or I need a quote, or I need a battle card or whatever. It's like, oh, look at that. We have this one single source of truth that Lashay helped us create. And that's a beautiful thing.
That's one of the value props of the engagement, because not only do I do the thing for them, but I teach their team how to do the thing too, right? So even after our engagement, they still get that ongoing value. Like you said, they have this repository of just like information. If they have any new in-house writers that onboard, they can be plugged into the system and get running, as quickly as possible. Again, because I've been the person that has had to teach writers how to do the thing. And it's like, I didn't understand how important content operations is in all this because I'm not a project manager. I'm not any of that stuff. But it was like productizing forces you to operationalize your process and get extremely granular, right? Like, and content operations is just so slept on. Nobody really talks about it like that, but it's so important and it helps people conceptualize what would otherwise be a very nuanced thing, because bottom of funnel is very nuanced, right? And it's like a lot of the time, not only do I have to like teach them the nuanced thing, but I have to educate them up into the point of purchase, because some people don't even know, like you said in the beginning, like some people don't even know what bottom of funnel is, but the synonym for that would kind of be like, okay, high conversion style content, right? So it's like I have to educate them up into the point of purchase, and that's what like LinkedIn content is for and all that type of stuff. But no, totally. Like they get an asset, right? It's not just, an engagement with Lashay and then we're done. Goodbye. Like you get to keep this asset to be able to plug other people into. If there's an event where they're like, oh, well, Lashay, we're going to take a break from right now. You want to come holler at me 6 months later? we still have the dashboard to do this thing and that we started 6 months ago. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's an evergreen resource for them. Yes.
All right. So you've aligned the team now, right? Like everyone's on the same page. They're all pumped. They've got their dashboard. Not only are they better teammates, but they're also just better informed on what the company does. What happens next?
Okay, so once we're aligned with the information that's in the dashboard, once the customer research is done and they're aligned, is when the keyword research begins. Again, because I don't know how to conduct a search if I don't know who I'm talking to, what their pain points are, what are the capabilities of the product. So it's like, once I learn all these things, I'll start the bottom of funnel content strategy. And then from there, this is kind of like, well, all of it is productized, but this is where like the frameworks come in. Once I find the search term for them that we're going to target, what I'll do is match that search term with a framework that I've created. And what it does is it essentially takes the elements that I got from the customer research and plugs them into these frameworks, right? So I call them dynamic frameworks, meaning that the framework itself is static, but the information that is in it is dynamic. So that changes, but the overall structure is very similar, but the things that change in it are going to be dependent upon the company that I'm working with. And I think even like letting them see the frameworks like down to its bare components, again, helps them better conceptualize, okay, like how does she think about this? How is she putting this together versus, other agencies that are like, okay, I'm just going to take my systems and processes over here and protect that because that's how we grow. And I'm not going to share anything with the client because I want them to, I'm trying so hard not to throw shade, but it's like,
just do it. Just throw all the shade.
So you're going to get me in trouble. We want to like protect this process because we want to make it overly confusing because we think that's how we sell a client. Make SEO sound overly just overly confusing. And I've been there, right? Like, God, I've been doing SEO for over a decade now. I sound old, but I'm not. I'm only 31, but still, like, I've been doing it for over a decade now. And it's like, I've been through the rabbit holes of like, oh, we have to have this anchor text percentage and we've got to have this thing and that thing and all these little intricate details. But it's like, at the end of the day, really none of that shit matters as much as people think it does. I think where people struggle, especially SEO professionals, is that they understand SEO, but they do not understand marketing. I think that's an issue. So what happens is they tend to overcomplicate the process to try to sell it to the person that they're selling it to, when confusion doesn't sell, simplicity does, right? So it's like when I'm talking to people, I'm like, okay, boom. First, we're going to do this. Then we're going to do that. And as nuanced as bottom of funnel is, it's not hard for me to try to complicate that process at all. Like, but why? You know what I mean? Because when my champion goes to sell me internally to a decision maker, they're not going to be able to get the point across by having something that's confusing laid out on paper, right? They need to quickly be able to conceptualize and identify, okay, here's the gap that she's filling. Here's what she does. Let's get her in. And like, that's been my experience.
I'm right there with you. I think about this all as like marketers marketing, where it's just like, it's like, let's make it look complex. Let's make us look busy because we're working on such complex things. Yeah. And nobody really gets mad at the person that's super busy. It's like the person that's sitting off to the side, just kind of like seemingly dilly-dallying or whatever, that eats it. So it's marketers marketing. That's what it comes down to. And like, I'm right there with you. Like, I'm a big believer in, like, teach someone to fish. Yeah. Like, ultimately, if you lock it away, if you make it a secret, if you make it overly complex and it's not actually, you're going to lose trust in the long run. In the short term, sure, you'll get a check, whatever, but you're not getting that second one. Like, that example you gave like a couple of moments ago where it's like, 6 months from now, we can pick it right back up. There is no 6 months from now if once they get in there, you just update a couple of keywords here or there or whatever. And like all of a sudden you're putting money behind it in Google search or whatever. Like it's people love to overcomplicate things. And I think those are the people who you need to be most wary of.
Oh, 100%. Every day of the week. And it's funny because it's like, unfortunately, a lot of people fall for that, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it sounds so complicated. They must know what they're doing, and things like that. And it's like, then when they get screwed by the first person and they're ready to try SEO again, it's like now the real professionals got to deal with like the skepticism and the, oh, but I had this negative experience with this SEO company. How do I know I'm not going to have the same experience with you? And I have to go through all of it. But I think one thing that helps with that quite a bit is competitive positioning, right? So
Yes.
the way I formed my competitive positioning was just changing everything that I went through that I did not like. When I was at agencies, one thing that they do that I didn't like was it's usually a senior account manager or a founder that'll sell the account and win it. And then once they win it, it's handed off to a junior. I used to be that junior was handed off to.
So the work still got done well, is all I'm hearing right now.
I mean, hey, well, it is true, but also, that's like throwing the person that's working for you in the deep end and saying, figure it out, go swim. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not fair to the client, because if they're giving you X amount of thousands per month, you want to put somebody that's seasoned on their account and then have the junior shadow the seasoned person versus saying, you know what? I want to cut costs. I want to increase my profits. Let me just throw this junior. I'm only paying them at least what my cap was in house. I'm only giving them $75,000 a year. It's not life or death. You know what I mean? Let me just but that's the wrong way to think about it. And I think a mix of those experiences is like how I formed my competitive positioning. So like another thing that agencies do is just they report on shit that the clients do not care about. I've had the same experience where I was an account manager and I had to walk through reporting of a bunch of stuff they did not care about. How much did our traffic grow this month? What is the percentage of click-through rates? And da-da-da. Everything but how many leads you generated them. That's what we would tell them. So when I started my thing, I'm like, you know what? That's the first thing I'm going to report on. How many leads did I help you generate this month? Were there any BOFU articles that influenced a demo or somebody reaching out to sales, and like really holding my feet to the fire? Because agencies just don't do that, right? They don't hold their feet to the fire. They're just it's a bunch of smoke and mirrors of like, oh, and sexy charts that go up like this, but
to the right.
Where are the leads at? You know what I mean? And it's not until 6 months down the line that these VP of marketing professionals or these in-house content marketers are like, okay, we've been doing this for 6 months, but how is this making us money again? Like, how's that happening? From day one, I'm like, here's how this is going to make you money. Here's how you get an ROI on me, because we're not focused on traffic. You will get traffic, but that's not what our focus is. Our focus is on conversions. And like, I almost have to take them through like this mindset shift, because they're so used to focusing on traffic, because that's what every other agency sells them on, because that's all the hell they know how to do, right? Conversions is just too complicated to figure out from a organic perspective. But when you're focused on bottom of funnel, it's one of the closest touch points to conversion. So it's not as difficult to track that versus, and I'm not saying that traffic isn't a good thing, right? There are plenty of agencies out there that focus on the traffic aspect and the brand awareness, and that's totally fine, right? But don't focus on that and then tell the client like, okay, you can expect to see an increase, blah, 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 of this amount of revenue. No, they don't. No, they can't. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like, just be honest and upfront with them about that. If your agency or consultancy is not centered around conversions, that's okay. It's some people that come to me that want, well, I've only had two because I'm very deep in my category. But I've had two people come to me like, do you do any top of funnel? Like, no. You know what I mean? So there are people that want top of funnel, but just be honest about it. Like, just as long as you can tie the thing that you're doing to an objective that they care about, you will get the sale, right? It's not about, oh, well, I don't necessarily generate them conversions because I don't focus on bottom of funnel. So what, right? Like, people still need top of funnel stuff, right? They need more email signups and things like that that are more top of funnel objective associated. Be honest about that and upfront about that. Don't focus on top of funnel and say, I'm going to get you bottom of funnel results while focusing on top of funnel. Just like I tell people, don't expect the traffic to have a crazy increase because that's not the objective that we're going after.
Yeah, you're talking conversion versus awareness, and like
Yes.
there's a major difference there, and there are different strategies and different goals around them. And I think that, to go back to the process for a second, like that's where like I like that you called it like BOFU keyword research, bottom of the funnel keyword research, because the thing that someone might be looking for at the very start of their journey to learn about a particular company, product, service, whatever it might be, and the thing that they might be searching for later on down the road when it's finally, when the intent is there and they're finally ready to make a purchase, are two very different things. And, knowing what you're good at, being honest and open about what you're good at and what your focus is, I think, super critical. And within this, because I bet you like that same team that you've now aligned, right? If the issue is awareness, the things that you would come back with, the recommendations, the strategies, they would be very different than what they've come to from a bottom of the funnel perspective. So once you've done the keyword research, I know we said creating is last. Like, I always hate this part where I'm like, when I try to like guess the process, because that's not the goal here, but like, is that what comes next?
Yeah. So like the article creation comes next, right? So just pairing those keywords with frameworks. And again, like, the benefit of having a productized consultancy is that it makes it easier to scale when that time comes. I've been afraid of it. I've been running from it from a year, but we're here now. It makes it a bit easier because, again, I had to think to myself, I said, okay, at the end of 2023, this is when the consultancy was starting to scale. And I'm like, why am I afraid to bring on subcontractors? Because at the end of 2023, what I was doing was actually all of 2023, I was doing exclusively done with you. So I would have this dashboard and the people in-house, I would teach them how to fill out the frameworks. And I'm like, if I could teach them how to fill it out, pretty sure I could teach a subcontractor how to do the same thing. But the reason for the switch from done with you to done for you is because teams were just too small. They already have like a shit ton of stuff to do. Their time is already super limited. Resources are super limited. So I've had a lot of people come to me like, Lashay, like, can you actually write the content? Anybody that doesn't know me by now, I fucking hate writing. Like, it takes me forever to do. Takes me 2 months to write one blog post. I'm like, okay, now I've got to get people not named Lashay to come in here and like help me execute on this process. But again, the cool thing about productizing is that there's a framework there for them to be plugged into, right? So it's like, now I've got to get into operations and different procedures and things like that. And like, that's where I'm at right now. But I think, and I keep talking about it, but it's just so many benefits to having that productized style model where it's just like, your business is going to flow so much better. And not just that, but you're going to give yourself more time away from the business. And it's weird because it's like, when you first start doing this thing, you're like, I'm willing to spend as much time in the business as I need to. You get excited, like the momentum gets going. Then when you're not money starved, at least like I was, right? When you stop being money starved, you're like, okay, what do I really want? Right? Like, the money's there, it's happening, but what do I really, really want? And a lot of times what people really want is their time back, right? So it gets to a point where it's like, okay, I've got the thing, the positioning is on point, the productization is on point. What do I need to do? And that next step was just like bringing in people and plugging them into the process and being able to do a full done for you style consultancy versus done with you. Because again, teams just need me to absorb that function. Because they're like, oh, they look at it like, oh, Lashay's the expert. I want her to do it. But a long time I resisted that because I'm like, I don't want to do the writing and I don't want to bring in subcontractors. So the teams would do it, but I'm just
You'd be stuck. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, okay, I have to absorb that. And it's like, that's the point of business where I'm in right now, where it's like, I'm just absorbing the entire bottom of funnel function. And going back to like the top of funnel thing, it's like every part of the buyer's journey matters. There's not one part that matters more than another part. And a lot of people get misconstrued because I talk about bottom of funnel all day long, but that's because that's my jam. That might not be your jam, and that's okay, right? But every part of their buyer's journey plays a very specific role, because before somebody can even get to the bottom of the funnel, they got to come through the top.
It's so obvious, but I've never actually heard anyone say that in that way. It's like, to get to the bottom, you got to go through the top. It's super clever. All right. So as you think about article creation, and I know we're getting towards the end here, are you considering channels? Are you considering like audience, or is there kind of like, as you think about the productization of it all, like is there sort of just like the formula that you follow?
This consulting thing has led me into being a fractional head of content. And the reason that I took that position, so to speak, is because I wanted to learn more about that, the channel thing, because being a head of content was something I never got to do when I was in-house. Now serving as a fractional one, I had a couple theories, right? So one of the theories was, if I can get something to convert from a bottom of funnel perspective, blog wise, would it work if I took it and repurposed it for, say, a webinar or a social post? And what I've found is it absolutely does. So one of the things that I've done is taken a bottom of funnel article that's proven to convert, again, based on analytics and all this other stuff, and taken that and repurposed it into a bottom of funnel webinar. And the result of that is like people reaching out to the sales team and things like that. But it's like, I take a very pragmatic approach when it comes to SEO. And I don't know if that's on purpose, but it's just like, I'm very data driven. When I see something that works, I'm like, okay, what elements can I take from this thing that's working and make this thing over here work, right? And then what can I take over here and make this work? So I find that repurposing, and I know we talked about repurposing before in terms of like taking a blog post and using it as sales enablement, but now repurposing in terms of taking a converting blog post and turning it into a YouTube video, a webinar, a social post, and having, and again, another thing, that's another way you keep alignment, right? Because somebody, and for anybody, and I know you're familiar with Taz, but like even the thing that we kind of do together, right? It's still alignment based. Like we take the same elements and pull from that. So it's like even mixing the organic with the paid, right? So if somebody comes in through a bottom of funnel article, and let's say they don't convert on that article, retargeting them with a paid landing page that touches on the same pain points and the same benefits and the same features and all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like keeping that alignment. That's why alignment is so important. It's so important. It just gives your strategy so much life when things are aligned, right? So it's just like for me, the reason that I wanted to be head of content is because I had so many theories that I wanted to test out, and I've been able to just execute those through being a head of content, and pleasantly surprised quite a few things have worked. Another thing that I haven't talked about publicly yet that's been working well is live chat on bottom of funnel articles seems to work pretty well. I thought they would, but I wasn't sure. So that's something that we rolled out on the bottom of funnel articles, and they've been working great. And I think that's because somebody that is on a bottom of funnel piece is already in the mindset of like, okay, I think I'm ready to get a thing. Like, let me just check out some stuff. So you capturing that high converting, whatever you want to call it, attention, you capturing them when they're in that moment is better than trying to do it when you're further up the funnel. You know what I mean? So chat has been working well. Yeah.
All right. So we are at the tail end of this thing, unfortunately. I can talk to you for hours, Lashay. But where can we see this process next? Or like, what are you thinking about these days?
So scaling, right? Just taking it to the next level. I don't like to use the A word, which is agency. It's like a dirty word for me. But positioning is everything, right? So I look at it like a boutique consultancy. I'll frame it like that. But the vibe these days are just, getting back in processes in place and scouting out subcontractors to be able to come into the business and, help me grow this thing a little bit and make sure they're well taken care of. The clients are well taken care of. Anybody that wants to see this process, I give away a free dashboard. You can find it at authorityplug.com/content-dashboard. And the funny thing is, this is the same dashboard I used to plug my actual live advising clients into. The cool thing about building your process in a no code is that you can take that feedback loop and iterated on it way more quickly. So it's like as I started iterating, I built version 2 of the thing and so on and so forth. But you can totally grab that dashboard for free. It has like every question that you need to ask across those teams to gain that alignment is all in that dashboard. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for being on the show. This has been awesome. I love that we actually we were talking bottom of the funnel strategy, but we also kind of backdoored some business and entrepreneurial learnings as well. So thank you for that. Honestly, like we'll have to have you back to really do that entrepreneurial deep dive. Thank you, and I will see you later.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Dimitri, for having me on.